Hi, my name is Haley Dykes, and I'm going to be doing my presentation over Sima Qian for Dr. Fuller's online World Lit class. Today I'm going to be talking about Sima Qian's life, his literary works, and his writing style. So to start off with his life, he was known as a Chinese historian of the Han Dynasty. And he grew up near Longmen with his father, Sima Qian, who played a big role in his life as a writer and historian. Because his father, Sima Qian, was a court astrologer, which, if you don't know what that is, it's someone who works with the government. And in his case, Sima Qian, he was responsible for managing the Imperial Library and maintaining the calendar. So when Sima Qian was very young, he was already being exposed to historical writings, and from research, it says that by the time Sima Qian was 9 or 10, he was already very knowledgeable and intensively trained in these old writings, which really helped him out in his future. So as he got older, Sima Qian studied under Confucian King Anugo and Dong Zhongshu, and during his 20s, he was able to travel the country and visit ancient monuments and graves of ancient sage kings. And when he returned to his home, he was chosen to be a palace attendant. And with this job, he was able to travel again to different parts of the country and inspect them with the emperor. In 110 BC, Sima Qian was in a military expedition that went westward. But unfortunately, he had to return back home because his father became very sick and was near death. So when that happened, his father requested Sima Qian to help him finish his historical writing that he had started. But they didn't finish it before he passed away, and when he did, Sima Qian took over his position as court astrologer. And this allowed him to work on the calendar, and he reformed the calendar and also offered counsel to the emperor on general affairs of the state. To continue on in his life, he was involved in the Li Ling affair, which also led him to write letters to one of his friends, which will be included in his literary works. The Li Ling affair was his two officers were killed, and Sima defended one of the officers, Li Ling, and the emperor took that as an attack and sentenced him to be executed. So, from research, I understand that when someone is sentenced to execution, that either means by castration or by money, by getting money from the person who is supposed to be executed. So, since Sima Qian did not have money, he was castrated, and during the time he was in prison, he wrote many letters to his friend talking about how terrible and terrifying his experience was. And in 96 BC, he was released from prison. And it says in research that he lived as a palace eunuch to complete his writings. Okay, so I'm going to talk about his works. And One of his main works was Shiji, but it's also known as the Records of the Grand Historian. And it was originally started by his father, Sima Qian. And it is a monumental history of ancient China and the world. And it extended over 130 chapters. What makes this so different from other biographical works is it's divided into particular subjects. It doesn't flow through the course of history like most writing does. It's broken into subjects like annals, chronicles, treaties, and it was finished around 109 BC. The works in particular discuss the world as it is known to Chinese and a 2,500 year period, starting with the Yellow Emperor and all the way to the reign of the Emperor Wu. And it just talks about the history of these emperors and their rulings. What makes it so different, as I said earlier, is it is broken into segments of overlapping units, and it doesn't flow through the course of history like most writings do. It's broken into topics of significance instead of the way that they happened. Some other works that he is known for are some of his letters that he wrote to his friend Ren An during his trials and during the time that he was in prison, and for the Li Ling affair. These letters are still studied in Chinese history in schools today. Part of the letters that I did research on was, it was discussing his time in prison and how he was experiencing it, and part of the letter discussed why he wasn't going to commit suicide, but most people do in the prison because it's so terrifying and awful for them. But he was discussing that he wasn't going to do that because he had a lot of writing that he wanted to finish, which obviously he did. And he decided not to commit suicide, even though it would be easier and less trying for him. He didn't, and he ended up finishing his writings after he was released from prison. In research, it also stated that he had wrote 8 rhapsodies, which were all lost except one, and it said even in the one that they had, it was not finished. So he was best known for the work Shiji, which is, as I said, was known as the Records of the Grand Historian. So to move on to his writing style, there's not much to say about it. He obviously was a historian, so all of his works mostly were about history of China and the world. But what was so interesting to me was that his writing was known to have humor and was very entertaining, which is not typical for history. And that his writings were very easy to read and were very easy for people to understand, and they're still very well used in his classrooms. But that was the main thing I got from research about his writing style, was that they were all very humorous and comical and entertaining for the reader, which I like. So other than that, to conclude, Sima Qian, he was a historian and he grew up learning about old writings, and he has one main work, which is Shiji, which I discussed, and his works are all very comical and easy to read. And that's all I have. Thank you.